Alright, for number one, drawing an example of a central angle. Okay, what is the important thing when drawing central angles? The vertex needs to be at the center. So you guys are all going to have different pictures, but as long as your angle comes from the center, you are good to go. Okay, for number two, finding the measure of GH. Is GH a minor or a major arc? Minor arc. Okay, so what is the measure of GH? 135 degrees. And how did you know that it was 135 degrees? Because the central angle is the same measure as its minor arc. Okay, number three, find the measure of angle KLS. First of all, what is the vocab term that we use to describe angle KLS? The inscribed angle. Okay, an inscribed angle. And how does an inscribed angle differ from a central angle? Inscribed angles have the vertex on the outer edge of your circle, whereas the central angle has the vertex on the center. Okay, so how do you find the measure of an inscribed angle? It's half of the, what do we call that arc? Intercepted arc. So 1/2 of 112, and so the measure of angle KLS is 56 degrees. Okay, number four, the measure of GOH is 74 degrees. Find the measure of GIH. Okay, how do you go about solving that? Arc GH is what? 74 degrees. So this arc right here. So why would GIH be 37 degrees? Because it is an inscribed angle. And remember, if you trace your little ice cream cone, this is your angle, and then there's your ice cream on top. Okay, making the arc. Okay, so it's 1/2. Questions over 1 through 4, because all of that is review. Yep. Okay. So moving on then. Angles outside of the circle. Okay, so an intercepted arc. Again, we're going to define it as a portion of the circumference of a circle that's enclosed by an angle. Okay, so the portion of a circle enclosed by the angle. Okay, how many intercepted arcs do you have in figure 1? 2. It's got AB and arc DC. Both of these are enclosed by the angle, angle 1. Okay, in figure 2, you've got arc EG and arc EF. And in figure 3, you've got this arc here, IH or HI, and then the larger arc, IJH. Is everybody clear with what an intercepted arc is? Okay, it is enclosed by the angle. Okay, that's why we're not including arc FG, CB, or arc AD, because none of those are inside of our angle. Okay, if I close my angle, I should be able to eat all the arcs that are intercepted. Okay, turn to this. Okay, exterior angles of a circle theorem. Okay, if the vertex of an angle is on the exterior, of a circle, then the measure of the angle is half of the difference of the intercepted arcs. Okay, so when I think of exterior, okay, you're on the outside. When you're outside of the circle, you're a little bit different, so subtract. Okay, so with that being said, what are our two measures of our intercepted arcs in number 1? 30 and 100, okay? You want to stay positive, so you want to always take your bigger arc minus your smaller arc. Okay, so start farthest away and work your way inside. Okay, so 100 minus 30, what? Well, I know that equals 70, but what else do I need to do? 100 minus 30, and then what else do I have to do? Divided by 2 equals x. So x equals 70 divided by 2, which is 35. Okay, for number 2, okay, my two intercepted arcs, I have 115 degrees. I have this other intercepted arc, and then I have x. How do I know the measure of my other arc? 360 minus 115, so that makes that larger arc what? 245. Okay, a lot of people will think they don't have enough information to solve this problem, but you do. Okay, you know that all your arcs measures around a circle have to add up to 360. Okay, so now how do I go about solving for x? And what do you get for x? Okay, for number 3, for the first time we've got markings on our circle that we haven't necessarily had yet. Okay, it's telling you that this here, okay, is congruent to this piece here. Okay, so if those are congruent and this arc is 100 degrees, what do you think about the other arc? 100 degrees. Okay, so if this is 100, this is 100, this is 30, how many degrees do you have left in your other intercepted arc? 130. Okay, so to find x, what do you do? 130 minus 30 divided by 2, and so x equals 50 degrees. Questions on that? Okay, so the big thing here is making sure you know that, again, your entire circle is 360 degrees, and when it's exterior, you're outside of the circle, you're different, you take the difference. Okay, before we completely get off that exterior angles, I want to show you another example. Okay, if you can find some space to write this, maybe you can draw yourself a little picture. Maybe you can go back to the front and draw it in the space below. I don't know, find somewhere. I'm just going to draw you an example. Hopefully this works out good. I don't even know. Okay, so this arc here is 6x plus 2. This arc is x plus 4. And your exterior angle is 60 degrees. So how would I go about solving for x? Okay. 6x plus 2 minus x plus 4 divided by 2 equals 60. Raise your hand if that's how you would write that. Raise your hand if you would write it like this to solve this problem. Majority of you, I know you would. Okay, what's wrong with that? You have to put parentheses around x plus 4. You're not just subtracting x, you're subtracting that entire angle. So if you don't distribute that negative, you're going to get the wrong answer. Okay, so it's 6x plus 2 minus x minus 4. Okay, not just 6x plus 2 minus x. Okay, does everybody see that? Because you're subtracting the two arcs. So you have one arc minus an entire arc. And so we kind of forget that when it's always labeled as degrees already for us. Okay, but technically that second arc should always be put in parentheses because you're subtracting the whole thing, not just the first value. So to go through with the problem, I would multiply both sides by 2. So I have 6x plus 2 minus x minus 4 equals 120. I have 5x minus 2 equals 120. 5x equals 122. Divide, and it's not a pretty number, but 24.4. Okay, but I just wanted to get you guys an example of seeing when you have to subtract a whole quantity versus just one number. Does that make sense? Okay. Moving on then. Okay, angles inside of a circle. Okay, so when you're inside of your circle, the vertex of an angle is on the interior. Then the measure of the angle is half of the sum of the intercepted arcs. Okay, so interior is sum, exterior is difference. Interior is sum, exterior is difference. Questions on that? Okay, so what this means, if you're looking at figure 4, okay, our two intercepted arcs currently that we're dealing with in relation to angle 4 that's labeled is arc KL and arc MN. Okay, arc KL and arc MN. Okay, by definition then, angle 4 is equal to the measure of arc KL plus the measure of arc MN over 2. And again, the big thing here is the sum. So the measure of your two intercepted arcs divided by 2. Okay, so for number 4, what is my interior angle? $150. And 150 is equal to what? 200 plus x divided by 2. Okay, if you solve for x, you're multiplying both sides by 2. 300 equals 200 plus x. So x equals 100. Okay, starting now, make sure you're getting in the habit of checking your work. Okay, these are simple equations and you can do mental math to check them. If I add 200 plus 100, 300 divided by 2, and I get 150. Okay, so I know I've done it right. Had I messed up and done the difference, okay, I would have 200 minus 100, which is 100, divided by 2, which is 50, and I'm not getting 150 degrees, so I know I've messed up somewhere. Okay, so make sure that you're going back and checking your answers. Okay, number 5. How can we go about solving for x? Okay, when you're adding, you don't have to worry about putting that second piece in parentheses because everything's associated. You don't have to distribute a negative. Okay, so when you combine like terms in the top, you got 8x over 2 equals 80. Multiply both sides by 2, so 8x equals 160, and x equals 20. Can anybody create a creative way to remember that interior is the sum and exterior is different? I think interior sum, if you take the letter of each, it is, I don't know if that helps. Exterior difference, ed, ed. It is an ed. I don't know, I like my whole, if you're outside, you're different. Okay. Yeah. Okay, 6. Okay, number 6. How do you go about solving for x? 100 plus 140 divided by 2 equals x. So 240 divided by 2, x equals 120. Okay, 7. Are you inside, outside? What are you looking for? Exterior, okay? So how do you go about solving this then? Different. So 4x plus 2 minus x divided by 2 equals 2x minus 10. Okay, what's my first step in solving this? Multiply both sides by 2. Notice that you have to distribute. Okay, so you have 2 times 2x, 2 times negative 10. Okay, so I have 3x plus 2 equals 4x minus 20. There you go. Subtract 3x. 2 equals x minus 20. So 22 equals x. Questions? Okay, so your interior angles look like railroad signs. If you've seen those of you that are driving and doing driver's ed and all that. A lot of this is looks like the railroad crossing sign. Okay? And then your exterior angles are always going to have an angle outside of your circle. Okay, number 8, good old ratio question. A secant, what's a secant? A line that goes through a circle, okay, And a tangent, what's a tangent? It touches at exactly 1 point, okay? Intersect at a 50-degree angle, okay? So our secant and our tangent are intersecting at a 50-degree angle. The two arcs of the circle intercepted by the secant and tangent have measures in a 7:3 ratio. Find the measure of the largest arc. Okay, so you're not just solving for x. I want you to go back and solve for the largest arc. Okay, so if it's a 7:3 ratio, I need to label my two intercepted arcs. What am I going to label them as? 7x and 3x. Okay, once I've labeled my 7x and 3x, am I dealing with an interior or an exterior angle? Exterior. Okay, so what do I need to do? Subtract them. Okay, so I have 4x over 2 equals 50. So 4x equals 100, leaving x to equal 25. So how do I figure out the largest arc? There you go, 7 times 25, and that equals, is that a major or minor arc? Minor. Okay, here's a kicker. Okay, it says find the measure of the largest arc. Okay, it didn't say the largest intercepted arc. It said the largest arc period. Okay, so this is 175. What's this one? 75. What would be this one? 110. So on this one we got lucky because it was one and the same. But on a quiz or a test, I don't think so. On some sort of assessment, you might need to figure out all of the angles, then determine the largest or the smallest arc.
I got you.
Got it? Okay, so my rule of thumb is solve for literally everything you know and that you are capable of solving for. And then look at what the question is asking. Alright, any questions over interior and exterior? Interior, you're doing what? Sum. Exterior? Interior? Exterior? Sum? Difference? Exterior? Sum? Interior? Exterior? Difference? Sum? Okay. Hopefully that is drilled and embedded in your brain. Okay? We're going to do some practice, and we're done as far as the lesson goes. We're just practicing the next one. Okay. Number 1, interior, exterior. Exterior. So what are you doing? Different. Okay, so 190 minus 56 over 2. What do you get? 67. 2, interior, exterior. Which means sum. Okay, how do I do this? 52 plus 80 divided by 2. Interior, exterior. Which means different. Okay, how do I go about solving this one? Very good. So 200 minus x equals 46. I'm going to have a negative this time. We have negative x equals negative 154, and then you have to divide by that negative 1. So x equals 154. Okay, 4, interior, exterior. Interior, what are you doing? Sum. Okay, how do you go about solving that? Very good. And what do you get? What is it? Okay, 5, interior, exterior. Interior. Okay, this one's a little bit different. Why is that? Things are in weird spots. It's very odd. Okay. How do you figure out your other arc?
Subtract.
Okay, you can't go this. You can't go. I'm trying to. Okay, like this isn't 180 and this isn't 180, but you know that half and half is 180.
Oh.
So what is the top arc? 70, and the left-hand piece? Okay, now you have your missing info, and now how can I solve for x? Okay, why didn't you choose 110 and 36? Okay, because those are the angles that, or the arcs that x is opening up to. Okay, so you always pick the arc that it's opening up to, and then the one directly across from it. What does x equal? What is it? 107 degrees. Okay, for 6, do we have inside or out?
Outside.
So we need to take the different. Okay, what arc are we missing? The minor arc down here, which is, how do you know it's 115? Very good. You have 316 minus this little 35 minus the 210 leaves you with 115. So how am I going to solve for x? And what is x? 47.5. Okay. 7. Interior, exterior. Exterior, so you need to do the difference. What is the measure of one of our intercepted arcs? 180, because it opens up to a diameter. So this piece is 180. Okay, what about your other intercepted arc? 56. How do you know that? Very good. Okay, so how am I going to solve for x? 180 minus 56 divided by 2. Leaving you with 62. Okay, 8 interior, exterior. Exterior, some are different. Difference. Our one intercepted arc is 100. What is our other? 260. Okay, so how do I solve for x? 260 minus 100 divided by 2. 80 degrees. Okay, number 9 kind of looks crazy just because it's got these two radius drawn. Imagine those were like white out. I mean, it doesn't affect your picture at all. The only reason it was given to you is because of that central angle to tell you that that arc on the other side is what? 130. Okay, that's the only reason it was given to you. So don't let it throw off your interior and exterior. So yes, it was valuable because you needed to know that that was a central angle with an arc out here of 130. But after you label that arc, just ignore it. Okay, so what is our other intercepted arc? This one? Is 108? Wow, okay. Okay, so now that you have your two arcs, how do you solve for x? So x equals questions on that one? See why you have to know like all your vocab and your angles and everything? Okay, 10 and 12 are similar in that they don't give you anything really. Okay, so you have an intercepted arc labeled x. You have another arc, and you have 64 degrees as a what kind of angle? Exterior angle. So you know that you have exterior angle, you need the difference. Okay, if this intercepted arc is labeled as x, what would be the way that you label your major arc? 360 minus x. It is not 360 plus x. It is 360 minus x. Okay, so how do I go about solving this? 360 minus x over 2 equals 64 degrees. I have 360 minus 2x equals 128. Subtract 360. Negative 2x equals what? Negative 232. So what does x equal? Okay, that's a very important one. Yes?
Is it right if we're to add both of those x's to the other side?
Like, how? What do you mean?
So it'd be like, if we have 128 equals 360.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like 2x.
So you would have 360 equals 128 plus 2x and subtract 128. Yeah, that's fine. Questions on that one, because that one's important. Yes.
Could you just not distribute or like multiply both sides by 2 and just solve out on that side first?
How?
Like divide 360 by 2 and then just say minus x.
I mean, I would not.
No.
No, because it's not always going to work out like that.
Okay.
Okay, 11. Okay, 11 is great because it requires you to know a lot of things. Okay, this is my interior angle, correct? My one intercepted arc is 92 degrees. My other intercepted arc is unknown. Okay, what is the measure of that other intercepted arc? How do you know it's 102? 51 times 2 because it is an inscribed angle. Notice your little ice cream cone, the edge of the vertex is on the circle. It opens up to that intercepted arc, so it's 1/2 the arc, which makes that 102 degrees. And now you can solve by doing what? Leaving x to equal 97. This is not what Coach Edwards has.
92 plus 102 is 194.
I think she just made a mistake. X equals 97 degrees. Okay, for 12, how would you label your arcs? So this is x. This one would be 360 minus x. Okay, so I have 43 equals x minus parentheses 360 minus x over 2. Remember that when you're subtracting an entire value, put parentheses. Otherwise, you would make this mistake of x minus 360 minus x instead of, it's really going to be a plus x when you're done. So you have 86 equals x minus 360 plus x. So 86 equals 2x minus 360. 446 equals 2x, so x equals... Okay, I can't stress it enough. I'm going to say, and I guarantee even after I say this, the biggest mistake on the skills check is going to be not distributing a negative all the way through. Okay, when you subtract those two arcs, put parentheses so you don't make the mistake. Okay, get into the habit. Questions on any of the notes? Okay.